Thank God you're here. Welcome, hi and hello. My name is Becky. This is my knitting channel and I talk about things that I'm making and things that I've messed up on. And today we're on the latter category. If you've been here before, then you've heard me talk about my Lanark sweater, which I started on 1st of January this year. Had a bit of a topsy-turvy journey with, but the upshot is that I've now knit the whole bottom ribbing around the base and also around the cuffs in a colour of yarn that is very different from the main body of it, despite the fact that I bought 2 balls of yarn and the other ball that I didn't use is the right colour. So today we're going to do a little bit of surgery on the Lanark and try and take off that old hemline, and then I'm going to pick up the stitches to knit with the other colour of yarn. Somebody in a recent podcast episode of mine commented to say that I should just cut it off. And that is so smart. And I'm so glad to have this community where somebody told me to do that, because otherwise I'd have sat and unraveled the whole thing. But that's what we're going to do today. It'll be a bit of a knitting chat. So I've got some other things that I'm going to talk about. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so nervous. I've never cut a bit of knitting before. I don't really want to do it. No, actually, I really want to do it. I want to burn it. I want to burn it to the ground. All right, here she is. You might have seen this before. But here's the offending colour change down at the bottom. Yeah, it's visible, isn't it? You can definitely see it. That is this ball of yarn. But I have this one, which is different. It's definitely different, and I think that this is actually the same colour. The same colour as the main body. If you wanted to see me realise that in live time, I actually filmed it in my most recent podcast. So you could go back and watch me realise I did it wrong. But we're not focusing on the past, you know? I'm going to need coffee for this, I think. I've really planned how I'm going to do this video, but the idea is that I'm going to just sit here and do it for as long as it takes. And I'm going to film it as it goes. And I'll cut out all of the boring bits, so you might see some jumps between scenes. Yeah, the continuity will not be there today. Feels like a really long time since I've filmed anything. Like, I haven't put anything out in weeks. And that's partly because I didn't really have anything that I could talk about. So for the past month or so, I've been working on like gift knits, and I've been working on a secret test knit. So none of that is something that I can really share. So it's felt to me like I've been very off-grid, very AWOL. But maybe that's just me. Maybe nobody else is sitting there being like, ooh, when's Becky going to post again? My partner also makes YouTube videos. He makes Warhammer painting videos, and they're really good. Like, I'm not into that, but they're really entertaining. I will put his channel down below. But he always makes fun of me for knitting content, because he's like, it's so low effort. He's like, it's so low effort. You just get to sit there on the screen and just talk. And I think that's super rude, because he didn't see the work in terms of the years of awkwardness that I had to go through in order to become this funny. And I'm not even the funniest person in my family. I don't even think I'm in the top half out of the 5. I think I might be the 4th funniest. So that's pretty bleak. And that took work. And then also, making this stuff is like, this is work, you know? Yeah, I get to sit here and chat to you, but like, this took time and effort, energy and blood. But also specifically, in terms of today, I had to skim watch half a YouTube video about how to take the hem off. And also, I made little notes of talking points that I'm going to cover today. So yeah, you'll see. They'll all see. Right, we're going to have our first scene break now, because I need to get a needle out of a box that you're currently resting on. So I'm just going to move you. Okay, you're back. Hopefully the background difference wasn't too much. Who rests their camera stand on the stuff that they need in order to film the video? Me. I do that. From my brief research, what I heard that you should do is that you should try and pick up stitches up slightly above where you're going to make the cut with a needle. And I'm using a smaller needle than I knit the body in because it'll be easier to pick it up, obviously. It's a little bit too muggy for me to be drinking coffee, but I want a coffee and nobody can stop me. So I need to find the beginning of row. It could be absolutely anywhere. I think it's here. What's the worst that could happen if it turns out not to be there? Also, when I was looking this up, they were picking up from Stocking Stitch, and they picked up the right leg of every stitch. And because this is half fisherman's rib, I'm just gonna kind of have to guess. I could try and figure it out. I could try and look it up. But I think I'm just not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm still gonna try and pick up like the right leg of the stitch. Guys, we're gonna be here for a long time. Oh, this is dark yarn as well. I'm being so chaotic with this. This video is going to be a genuine nightmare to edit. It's going to be me just taking out long swathes of me sitting here, desperately trying to find the right leg of a stitch. I say that I haven't been on grid for a while, but I have been doing some filming. It's just that none of the videos that I have thought of have yet been ready to publish. So I've got one in train where I'm wearing all of my different knitted tops during the summer months. It's been so hot here in the UK, so I kind of got excited by this idea of rating all of those tops. And I underestimated actually how difficult it would be to style all of these tops. So there's only 12, and I was like, yeah, brilliant, like 12 days. But I'm averaging like 2 a week because some of them are things that I made thinking, yeah, this is great. And then I have literally never worn. So it's been quite interesting from that perspective, just to see how I was wearing that. But yeah, that's in progress. That's in train. Maybe we'll get it before the end of the summer, just when it becomes irrelevant. The other video that has been on my make list, I think I've been filming this since March, but early podcast watchers will remember that I had a coat that I was fixing up, and it's like a trench coat thing for winter, and it has quite a lot that I needed to do to it. And I got really excited by the idea of doing some visible mending and some patches. And then I was like, right, I'm going to turn this into a video where you can kind of watch me learn about it and do all of that stuff. And it turns out that learning is very time intensive. It turns out that patching is very time intensive. And so for both of those, I have just, because those have both been quite time intensive, that whole video has been just that's just been taking forever. So there's those two things that have been in train for a really long time. And then there's the knits that I'm doing that I can't show you. And then there's life, life has been really busy. I feel like I'm making excuses. I don't need to make excuses. I can do whatever I like, but it's been quite a mad summer, I have to say. Just been so much going on, and I genuinely don't know where the time's gone. It's actually really pleasant just to sit here and craft, and then occasionally have a little thought pop into my head and share that with you. I feel like we're really sitting here, and we're sitting here like friends, aren't we? Me and you. I was absolutely howling at myself getting all dressed up to sit and knit. Like I was like putting makeup on and like putting my hair up and like choosing my earrings and stuff. And I was like, you're getting so dressed up just to sit on your sofa and cut a sweater. No, I'm getting dressed up for you. That was the point. That was the point of this. Besides, I like dressing up, It's a hobby in and of itself. this has been something I've been thinking about quite a lot, actually, is like, I think sometimes that I definitely get into this habit of thinking like everything, I've got to do so much stuff in order to then get to the part of my life that I enjoy. So I'm like, okay, I have to go to the gym, I have to like shower, I have to get dressed, I have to do all this stuff, basic like day-to-day adult things. And I had this idea, probably not, I'm not the only one to have this idea, but like I started to think about it in terms of, what have I done? I need to go back a bit. But yeah, then I had this idea, which was like, what if I enjoyed the mundane? Not a hot take, but it lodged into my brain. It was like, what if I looked at those things that I feel like I have to do, and I considered them to be a joy and a pleasure and a privilege. It is a pleasure and a privilege to go to the gym, to be able to do so, to have the time to do so. Like, so what if I viewed it like that instead of as a task that needed to be completed before I could enjoy my life? And actually, we live in the mundane. Every time we brush our teeth, like, we're living in that mundane moment. So what if we just chose to view it as beautiful and wonderful? This is the sort of thing that I think about when I'm wrestling with a sweater. I have a couple of projects right now that are at a sort of tricky stage, like this one, where there's just a job that needs doing. And then once it's done, then, you're flying again. And I think that as knitters, there are obviously some bottlenecks in things that we make. And I know personally that if I get a project like this where I'm like, oh, I really need to think about it, I need to make a decision about it, like, and the decision, I know what the decision is, I know what the decision should be, and that decision is the hard decision, but I'm really hoping that I'll just end up making the easy decision. That ends up stalling me so much. So one like this, where I knew I needed to figure out, do some research about what the best way of cutting it was. Yeah, that held me up. I feel like I've been doing this for 25 minutes, and I've picked up only like a quarter of it. I should have maybe started with a cuff, because I just wanted to go straight into the hem, but I need to do the same thing. I need to do the same thing for both of these. I'm looking forward to the cutting bit of it. If I hadn't have done it, it represents real growth actually for me to do any research about how to do this and not just launch straight in, because my instinct was just to start hacking away at it. But obviously I know that to be wrong and bad. God knows whether I'm doing this right at all, though. It will at least be slightly secure. Some of these are even on the same row. Imagine that. Yeah, when I was getting dressed this morning, and I was like, I'm getting all dressed up just to sit at home, I find myself being like, I really want to be wearing something. I was like really keen to be wearing something around my neck. Like if you look at this kind of neckline, I was thinking I really want to have something there. And then in my head, I was like maybe like a sort of like maybe some sort of little like, and then just from the ether, like from the side, just I could hear the wind howling, and it was like the Sophie scarf. I don't own any Sophie scarves, and I'm a bit of a Sophie scarf hater. Like, let me be clear, I think it's really good that there's a project like that is an entry-level project that, it appeals to a lot of people, clearly. It's a style that people can vibe with. I applaud that. I don't think everything needs to be complicated. I don't think anybody needs to explain why they find something aesthetically pleasing to anybody else. But in that vein, I hate the Sophie scarf. I think it's ridiculous. I can't believe that the wind said that to me. It feels like the Sophie scarf would make me into a beautiful, chic Scandinavian lady, just like petite knit. But in reality, I think I would look like one of those prize dogs. Like a poodle with a ribbon. So when I was sitting there being like, oh, I'd love to have a little linen Sophie scarf, I knew that the heat had got to me. I knew that I was mentally not in a good place. That's when the Sophie scarf will get you, is when you're vulnerable. But actually, in that vein, I saw somebody recently, I think in like a styling video, saying that they really loved having a little lace collar thing. I think a few years ago, these sort of pilgrim style tops were really popular, where they had kind of almost like panels that went down, and they were check or plaid, and then they had little lace details. I'll try and find an example and then put it on the screen in case you don't know what I'm talking about. But I think that was really popular for a little while. And at the time, I kind of like found it interesting, and I thought, could I do that? And I never ended up getting it in the end. And then I think it was probably honestly just like a bit of a passing trend, because I haven't seen stuff like that recently. And I think if I wore that now, I think it would feel a little bit outdated, maybe. Outdated in the world of micro trends. So like 2 years old rather than really outdated. But there's a similar sort of vibe, the thing that I was thinking of, in terms of that, the pilgrim collar, in that it was a little lace thing. I was just thinking about that, and I was thinking, would that suit me? Would that feel like a really timeless thing? Lydia Morrow has a pattern called the Curio collar, which is kind of like that, except it's a bit more floofy. It feels a bit more like Edwardian. I think she describes it as like a fun clown sort of edition, which I really get. That's the sort of knit that I really like the idea of, as a really quick thing that can transform lots of different outfits. You could put that collar on loads of things, and then suddenly you've got a completely different outfit. Like you jazz up like an old dress or an old top or something. Like I got really into the idea of that, and then again I had to sit myself down and say, Becky, that's not going to work for you. That's not your thing. That's somebody else's thing, you know. Someone else is going to live their life with that curio collar, and it will be a wardrobe staple for them. The sort of thing that I could see myself making is more like a kind of lace doily crochet style thing, and not big, but just like a pure collar. And then maybe I could get a fancy old cursed bead to sit in it. Imagine that. And like the bead would have like the soul of an old witch in it. And then she would come out on occasion, and we'd just like go to the pub. I could teach her how to knit. And then she could have a matching collar with an even smaller bead with an even smaller witch inside. Picks up about half of the hemline now. There will be so many better ways of doing what I'm doing, and I know that people in the comments will be very like generous with their advice, and I really appreciate that. So on the topic of crochet things that I was kind of thinking of making, I'm really craving casting on a crochet project actually, and there's a couple of ideas floating around in my head. So one is that lacy collar thing that I was talking about, which I think would be better as crochet, because I would want to probably shape it around my shoulders. And that's just I think a lot easier with crochet. It feels a lot easier to like do something and then rip it back. And I also have a book of crochet lace stitches that I've been dying to just construct a set of things from. So yeah, that'd be really fun. Apart from just that lace neck thing, there's like crochet has been obviously quite a big, I think, summer trend. And there are some sort of crochet tops that I've been really interested in making. I think I've still got time to do that and enjoy it this summer, but I think I've been really conscious of it as a trend and trying not to get too kind of swept up in that trend, in the sense that I don't want to make something that is quite cool for this summer just because I can. I want to make something that I think I will enjoy every single year. So there are a couple of crochet tops that I might just make because I think they'll stand that test of time. And it would be good to make those rather than get excited about making like a flower granny square top, for example, which I think looks amazing, but I don't think really suits me. I really want to avoid making like a bucket hat. I have been so tempted to make a bucket hat. I have been so tempted. I mean, like even now as I'm saying it, I'm like, it would be so quick. And I could make it out of scrappy bits of cotton that I just have. It'd be so colourful. I wouldn't just make like a basic bucket hat. People might have heard of Silk Knitwear. So she is a designer in the UK who like knits things, and she makes bucket hats with these gold rings in them, and I think they look really, really good. It's kind of a shame in a way, because I look at it and I'm like, oh, I really want to support her as a person who's, you know, trying to make a living out of knitting and fibre. But on the other hand, I'm like, I could make that instead of paying for it. But it's her style, so it's that kind of thing of, if I handmade something, the influence would be really clear, and then she's not really like getting financial payback for the creative work of having designed something like that. I think she has a pattern, so I might, but I don't think she's got a pattern for the hat. But I might just make like one of her patterns, or I don't know, try and do something like that, and then assuage my guilt in another way. I was speaking to my sister about Polly Knorr, who is a cartoonist who makes these like really unhinged devil woman cartoons, and I'm obsessed with them. And they basically are devils that wear women's suits, and then all of the drawings are she's taken off her woman's suit in the way that you might take off your bra at the end of the day, and the devil's just there underneath, and it's not really a devil, it's like a devil like demon. It's a demon, and it's just smoking. And I think that is, you know, that's so appealing as an idea, that we all kind of go out and put our faces on, and then we come back home and we're just little gremlins underneath. I was very tempted for a while to get a tattoo of some part of her artwork, and which would be a little bit edgy of me. I think I probably skirt the line between being a bit edgy, but I'm also very domesticated, as you can tell. And that's fine, that's a great space to be. Nothing wrong with either of those. But my sister said that on her website, apparently, if you want to get a tattoo of her work, you can go and give an amount on the website, and it's called like tattoo permission. And I thought that was actually really clever because it did it like sat with me a bit wrong, the idea that I would get something, that I liked something so much that I would get it on my body and yet not financially reimburse the person who did the creative work in the first place. So I think that's really clever. And I think that, that's something, that's maybe like a kind of model for creatives, like an honor-based model that we should encourage and enjoy and make use of. Because like creative work like that is just going to it's already becoming extremely rare and it's under threat. I really am just saying stuff today, haven't I? I think I only really like the bucket hat because I'm pretty sure I saw Lewis Hamilton, like a picture of Lewis Hamilton wearing one. And Lewis is a close personal friend of mine in my head. That's getting cut. I just love him. I'm just obsessed with him. And so, yeah, I saw him wearing like a bucket hat, I'm pretty sure. And then I thought, right, well, therefore, that makes it okay. I could wear a bucket hat. And this is a really fine line, I guess. But they're so uncool, I think that they're cool. I think objectively, they're kind of disgusting bits of, they're really like gross items of clothing. It's kind of that sweaty festival wear that people have. But I'm quite partial to things that are so evidently uncool that they become cool. And I'm going to give you an example of that. And this example I happen to be wearing right now, but you won't have seen it yet. And it is, guys, I bought myself a pair of Crocs. And you get to see them. Yeah. They're objectively, I think, heinous. My partner, when I bought them, he actually didn't even protest. And I think that was from a point of, he's realized like the more that he protests against something that I buy that is like this, the more appealing that item becomes to me, because it's not as if I don't have eyes. I know that leopard print Crocs are like a statement, and the statement is, I don't know what the statement, no, there's no polite statement. The statement is, I'm a complete I'm gonna bleep that out. So I was happy to make that statement with these Crocs. And then I realized as well that you can, with your Crocs, buy little charms that can go on the Crocs. Oh, mama. That is end of days for me. I love to collect. I love a little charm. I love stuff like that. So currently my Crocs are bare, as God intended. But in the future, they might end up being covered in little gems and things. You can get little charms for everything. I nearly went on a mass vintage spree. Obviously, all of this stuff that I'm talking about, I would get secondhand, and I don't blame anybody for getting anything new if it brings them a lot of joy and if it's really intentional. But part of the joy for me of collecting random little things is having to work for it, and part of that is getting them secondhand and getting them from like charity shops and stuff like that, rather than just looking at the overwhelming world of brand new stuff that you can buy. I think I'm in serious trouble in terms of Croc charms. I don't think there's enough holes on these Crocs for the level of charm that I want in my life. You can get really kind of accurate food labeling. Like you can get dairy milk and you can get M&Ms and stuff. Surely that must be in collaboration with the brand. It kills me to find branding exciting, because obviously that's the whole thing that we all try and avoid, is not to get sucked in too much by brands. But I'm already in with Crocs. Like I'm already sucked into the Crocs brand because I bought real ones, and then I'm also going to get these little charms and stuff. So I'm already in too deep. So I might as well go full David Foster Wallace. Like I might as well go full capitalist. I saw a bit of advice recently which said if you looked at something and you didn't want it, if it was not the brand of the thing that you're looking at, then you are not interested in the aesthetics. You're interested in the wraparound of the branding. And I have to say that is 100% true for the Crocs. Like I wouldn't just buy some just random plastic shoes, you know. Where did I start with this? I mean, both in terms of how did I get onto speaking about Crocs, but I also realized it would be relevant for where I am right now in doing the jumper, because I have now picked up a line of stitches, and hopefully this won't be too terrible, like when I come to do the snipping. But it seems to match up. It seems to all be part of the same row. I think we might nearly be at the moment of cutting it. So I'm going to go get my scissors. This will be another little continuity jump. Yeah, see you in a moment. I also just went for a pee with my mic still on, and it reminded me of the Greg Davis joke where he used to be a teacher and he had a mic hooked up for a deaf student in his class, and then he went to the bathroom and yeah, he tells it better than I do, so I'm not going to finish the joke. I'll let you go and find it. But it reminded me of Taskmaster, which is actually on my little notes to talk about. Because I have been watching, I've watched a lot of Taskmaster, but I've been watching the most recent season. And I think if you're an American and you have watched any of Taskmaster, it will be this season, because it's got Jason something. He's so funny in it. And that season is so good. And everyone's hilarious. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go find out. And then you should look up Greg Davis's joke about the microphone bit, which, to be clear, I'm not having the exact same problem that he was. We'll see if this whole bit even makes it into the final knit in chat, because I feel like that's a little bit bold of me. And I left my scissors over there. I couldn't find my normal crafting scissors, so I'm using the ones that I have on my keyring. As a gift one year, my sister, who's getting a lot of airtime on this podcast actually, but it's a craft that we share, so she does get a lot of looking. She gave me like this element to the keyring, which is from, as you can see, it's a West Knits keyring, and it's got on it 3 crochet hooks, which are like 3mm, 4mm, 5mm. And these are actually like such a pain, because I will often have like knitting in my bag, and then I'll have the keyring obviously in my bag, and then sometimes these like catch on the knitting and then pull threads. And I had that with the thing that I'm making right now, that's like the secret that I'm doing my secret test knit for. It actually pulled a thread out, and it's so pulled out on the inside of the garment, thankfully, that I, in all seriousness, don't know what I'm going to do about it. It's a little bit of a drama. Also on this keyring is like this little screw thing, which normally has stitch markers in it, but I must have used them all, taken them all out whilst I was on the go. There's 2 stitch markers here, so I'm just going to put them in. But yeah, they like slot in and you will always have stitch markers when you're out and about. Those 2 stitch markers that I just picked up, I cleaned down the sides of the sofa earlier, and I was expecting genuinely to find hundreds of stitch markers, and I literally only found 2. And then I just thought, the simulation isn't even playing anymore. The simulation isn't even pretending that object permanence still is a thing, because where have all my stitch markers gone if not down the side of the sofa? Huh? Riddle me that, Matrix. And then the other thing that's on here is these scissors, which I always have to remember about when I'm flying, that I have to take this bit off because that would just get confiscated, obviously. But it's so good for like being out and about. And this has saved me so many times, not just with like travel knitting, but also just generally, like having a pair of scissors around is so remarkably useful. Can't even explain. Anyway, these are going to do the trick for today. I'm going to take off the rest of the key ring. Otherwise, it's going to be maybe a little bit tricky. Oh, that's the other thing I always forget, is that it actually is really hard to take these off. And it's especially hard when I've got fake nails on. I got these nails. I'm going to show you. You're not seeing them very well, but like you can see that they're obviously these sort of almond shaped nails, and I got them thinking that's not really my style. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, but actually, I'm really into the pointiness of them. I keep like clawing things. It makes me feel like when I was a kid and when we had those Halloween witch fingers that you would put on, and we'd play like party games where you have to pick stuff up with the fingers on. It's really difficult. All right, moment of truth. So in the video that I barely watched about how to do this, please don't take my advice on this. I'm sure you know better than I do. But it said obviously that you put this needle in like a couple of rows down from where you're going to snip, and that is obviously what I'm going to do just now. I had it in my head that I would be snipping all the way around, but actually it kind of suggested, I think, that you just snip and then pull basically. That can't be right. I think I'm probably going to be snipping all the way around, and hopefully what I've done with this lifeline, I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. As I say, I'm so glad that you're here. You have no idea how much moral support I needed to do this. Okay. Oh. What a rush. Okay, I kind of see what maybe the video was talking about, because it does just now sort of pull. Like, I don't think I would need to be cutting this. Yeah, I can just like, I might just do that for the rest rather than do it with scissors. I might use this tapestry needle. But first, I'm gonna have a biscuit. My friend got me these. They're like, you won't be able to see. They're like green Oreos. And I'm pretty sure he said they were matcha. It's the reason I'm a bit confused is because it's they're in Japanese, so they're from like, obviously you can get quite cool flavors of things like Kit Kats and stuff is the famous one that you can get from Japan. So yeah, I have no idea what it actually is. I think it's got a green ice cream on it, which for me that's like not helpful at all. Because there's so many types of green ice cream. It could be pistachio, it could be mint, it could be matcha. And then also, is it matcha flavor or is it matcha ice cream flavor? Like, who knows? It tastes kind of minty. Yeah, I'm not getting crazy matcha from that. Do I think that this is taking less time than just undoing all the knitting? I don't know. Maybe it isn't. It's a fun experiment to do something a little bit different though, isn't it? And hopefully I haven't messed this up too much, and hopefully the picking up of the stitches at the beginning, even though that was a little bit painful. Hopefully that's paid off. I really hope for your sake that a lot of this ends up on the cutting room floor, because I have been filming now for an hour and 15 making this. So I really hope that doesn't go out like that for you. Clearly, because I haven't done a podcast in a while, I just had a lot of pent up chat. I have spoken to other people, just to be clear. One thing that's happened to me in the time since I last filmed is that a couple of people that I know in real life have said that they watch the podcast, and it's kind of people that have surprised me. If that's you, then you know. But it's made me a little bit self-conscious of being on here. Oh, I clearly didn't stick to the round, because I'm now unpicking a round that is right next to the one that's live on the needle, so that's less than ideal. I should probably have gone a couple of further rounds up, I feel. Oh no. Mistakes were made. Further mistakes are about to be made, because I am just going to go slightly further up on the cut and just start the same process, but like a row above. That's definitely going to be a mistake. What if this is how it ends? Worked on this jumper all year, and then it comes to this point. I think even if it, like, I should, it would be really annoying, but I should be able to pick up stitches from further up. This is just going to be a bit of a hack job at the bottom. Oh well. I definitely should have started by doing a cuff and just experimented with that. So if you're ever thinking about doing this, then learn from this error. On the topic of people in real life, one friend of mine, I was wearing a knitted top, and he was like, yeah, so like how demure to sultry is this? Which, if you're unfamiliar, references another video that I put out where I went through some summer knits and rated them as demure or sultry. And that was how he told me that he was watching. I was like, you can't just reference lore without, from my channel, without preparing me for it. It's a cracking video though. I would really recommend it if you haven't seen it. That should be where I take my crochet inspiration from, because I already knew that I wanted to make some of those things before I kind of recognized that crochet trend was happening. So I should just commit to one of those projects. Oh my god, guys, this is like a nightmare. I've somehow got, again, to the point where it's like met my needle. I've not even done very much. Oh, this has not gone how I planned it would. It's like I think what I've done is like come up when I picked up on the needle here, and then like come up to the edge of it, and then I came back down for some reason. So yeah, this is just all over the shop, actually, looking at it. I said it was all in one row. I was wrong about that. So I'm going to have to do a third cut. Yeah, at this point, I'm just going to have fun with it. This is so exposing to do this online. If anyone thought that I knew what I was doing with anything, then I hope you feel suitably chastised. I feel pretty secure in my ability to like fix this though. Might be the same hubris that got me to this position. I have another biscuit. That'll make it all better. I've actually been sat here so long, just unpicking this. I cannot remember the last thing that I said. So for you, hopefully this will just have been seconds, but I have no idea what I was just talking about. I just wanted to check as well that I didn't have when you have an Oreo, you get all that black gunk in your teeth. Just went to check that I didn't have that, because that would be not a pretty sight for you to look at for the rest of the knitting chat. I think there's kind of no two ways about this. This is an absolute mess. What I've done here is a mess. One of the most annoying things about it is that I have definitely picked up across like a range of different rows, which my excuse for this is that it's knit in half fisherman's rib, which I think is actually quite difficult to tell, where all the rows lie. So there's my first excuse. And it's also in this very dark yarn, which makes it quite hard to see. And then the other big excuse that I have is that I was too busy focusing on nattering away. I didn't ever think about what I was actually doing, which was obviously a mistake. I think the idea of cutting it was smart. And thank you to the person that suggested that on my previous podcast episode. But I think that the way that I've done it has made it more effort, like more drama than it's worth. And actually at this point where I'm just pulling the thread through, I might just continue to snip. There's probably people at home kind of like sitting there being like, no, stop, what are you doing? And to those people, I say, sorry for the horror show. But it's taking too long. I'm impatient. I'm impatient and I'm lazy. It's just who I am. It's going a lot faster now. I should have said as well, I don't actually care about this yarn that's at the bottom. So I wasn't expecting to be able to like salvage that necessarily. If I can, then I will. But I don't mind having loads of tiny little scrappy bits. Like this one ball of yarn would honestly be a weight around my neck, because I would have to think about what I'm actually going to do with it. And that's not a good reason, obviously, to like waste yarn. So I'm not trying to be as wasteful as all that. But I'm just saying that I will try and save what I can, but ultimately, like, all little scraps that I don't use for knitting end up as stuffing. You might say that's a terrible use of yarn, and you would be right, but it won't go to waste, I promise. I think this surgeon needs her registration revoked. This is not good patient care. Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for what you have just witnessed. I am so sorry about that. Okay. The damage is done, The damage is done. What's the state of it? Okay, so I'll need to kind of tidy up around here and just pull in some of these threads and see what state we're in. And where I've picked up stitches, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. I might God, this is a sorry sight, isn't it? I didn't watch the end of that video about what you're supposed to do, so that again is also on me. What's kind of funny about this is that I think I'll probably call this video something like "Watch Me Murder a Sweater." So from the start, you'll have known that this is what the outcome is going to be. and you're watching me maybe realise that I have murdered a sweater. It's not good. It's not good. It's fine though. I'll be able to fix this. It's just going to be probably more work than if I had actually just undone it properly. So that's on me. Should have learned better, should have paid more attention when I was starting. Do as I say, not as I do if you are thinking of doing something similar. I'll put you out of your misery though, because this is not going to be something I can fix quickly. So I'll let you know when the video goes up. I'll put it in the description and let you know whether I managed to fix it or not. But yeah, if you've made it this far, and if my terrible attempt at doing this has entertained you, then maybe you would like to stick around and watch something else, or maybe you would like to like the video or subscribe in solidarity. Like and subscribe in solidarity. Oh my god. Yeah, I've properly wrecked this, guys. There's no two ways about it. I've properly wrecked it. Well, we'll see what happens. Okay, let's call time on it, you know? Maybe it's not the satisfying ending that I'd hoped for. Maybe I could have hoped for this to be... there should be some actual knitting in this. Who's to say? But I've had a good time sitting and talking to you. Maybe too good a time. Maybe I shouldn't have done this whilst I was chatting to you. Something to think about for the future. Thanks so much for joining, and I promise to be a little bit less chaotic in the future. See you soon. Properly ruined that, haven't I?